for 16 years and 193 issues, we all follow the story of Rick Grimes and the zombie apocalypse. But here's the thing. If you think this story is actually about the zombies, well, you've kind of missed the entire point. And hey, that's not just my take. That comes straight from the creator himself. It was the whole mission statement from day one, and it's really the secret key to understanding everything that happens in the saga.
Okay, so if it's not about the flesh-eating undead, what is this epic story about? The answer is actually pretty simple, but it's also way more terrifying than any monster.
Think of the walkers like bad weather. They're a force of nature, like a hurricane that just never, ever ends. They are the backdrop. The real story, the one that matters, is the human drama that plays out in front of that backdrop. It's about us and what we all turn into when civilization finally crumbles. And to really see how that plays out, we've got to go all the way back to the beginning, back to the moment the world fell apart and Rick Grimes woke up to find himself in the middle of the wreckage. So you've got this sheriff's deputy, Rick Grimes. He gets shot, ends up in a coma, and when he finally wakes up, the world is gone. His only goal, his only instinct, is to find his wife, Lori, and his son, Carl. And he does. He finds them. But what he finds along with them is the very first and maybe the most tragic human conflict of the entire story. See, the first major threat that Rick has to deal with isn't one of the dead. It's his best friend, his partner, Shane. He just couldn't handle Rick being back. He couldn't handle losing the family that he'd started to think of his own. The pressure of this new world it cracked him. He became the first human monster Rick ever had to face. And you know who stopped Shane? It's not Rick. It's his son, Carl, a little kid. This one moment right here defines Carl's entire path. A child forced to kill a man to protect his father. It's this incredibly brutal lesson that sets the tone for everything to come. In this new world, being innocent is a luxury nobody has. So after that first awful break, the story really falls into a cycle. The survivors look for a safe place, they try to build something, and then the world, usually wearing a human face, comes knocking to try and tear it all down. This brings us to their first big attempt to rebuild society. On one side, you've got the prison, where Rick's group is trying to build a real community, something like a democracy. And on the other, you have Woodbury, which is run by the governor. Now, he's offering the same promise, safety, but his price is absolute control, and he enforces it with pure, brutal violence. It's like the dark, twisted reflection of what Rick is trying to do. Of course, the governor can't just let another way of life exist next door. So he attacks, and the result is it's a catastrophe. Lori, Herschel, so many people are lost. The home they built is just gone. And the point is driven home, hard. This world does not care about your plans. It's just going to keep on taking from you until there's nothing left. And the losses just keep piling up. After they escape the prison, they run into the hunters at Terminus, who turn out to be literal cannibals who've just completely thrown their humanity away. Rick's reaction to them is cold, it's efficient, and it's brutal, and it shows you just how much this world has changed him. So can you imagine their shock when they finally stumble upon Alexandria? It's this walled-off suburb, a perfect little bubble where people are still living by the old rules. The culture clash is pretty intense. And just when Alexandria starts to feel like a real home, a new kind of order appears on the horizon. And it's not just one guy, it's an entire system, an idea. They're called the Saviors, led by Negan, and they have a simple philosophy. It's basically the mob. You work, you produce, you give them half of everything, and they protect you. And the truly terrifying part, it works. Naturally, Rick's group tries to defy this system, and the price they pay for it is just unimaginable. Negan lines them up on their knees, and with his baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, Lucille, he beats Glenn to death, right in front of his pregnant wife, Maggie. It is one of these single most infamous, heartbreaking, and brutal moments in modern comics. Glenn was the heart of that group, and just like that, he was gone. The story was never the same again. So after this long, bloody war, Rick finally gets the upper hand. He beats Negan. And what does he do? He doesn't kill him. He throws him in a prison cell. And you have to ask why. It's because Rick finally gets it. If you're going to build a real future, it can't be built on revenge. You need laws. You need civilization. It's a huge choice, and it defines the kind of man Rick is trying so hard to become again. So, years go by after the war. The communities are trading, they're growing, they're building that future. But this world, it always has one more test for you, doesn't it? One more monster waiting just off stage. You know, each of the main villains really represents a different answer to the question of the apocalypse. The governor was all about brutal personal force. Negan was about building a tyrannical system. But the last major villains, the Whisperers, there's something else entirely. They reject the whole question. The Whisperers wear the skins of the dead so they can walk among them. Their leader, Alpha, believes that humanity was a mistake. They want to go back to a more animalistic way of life. And to prove their point, they mark their border with the heads of a dozen people from the communities placed on pikes, including King Ezekiel and Rosita. It's not just killing, it's ideological terrorism.
After the Whisperer War, our survivors make contact with their final stop, the Commonwealth. And it's huge, a functioning city of 50,000 people. Society is back. But it brought back all of the old world's problems too. There's a rigid class system where whatever job you had before the world ended now dictates your entire life. So it's safe, but it's not fair.
And Rick, being Rick, he can't let that stand. He starts pushing for reform for equality. And in issue number 192, he pays the ultimate price for it. In what is probably the single most shocking twist of the entire series, Rick Grimes isn't killed by a walker. He's not killed by some evil warlord in a big battle. He's murdered in his sleep by the spoiled, pathetic son of the Commonwealth's governor. It's a quiet, small, senseless death. And that's the whole point. He didn't get a hero's death. He got a human one. Now, everyone reading at the time thought the story would go on to see the aftermath, but they were wrong. The very next issue that came out was a total surprise. It was the last one.
We flash forward decades into the future, and the world is safe. The walkers are just a manageable threat, almost a memory. The civilization that Rick Grimes died to create, it actually exists. And we see it all through the eyes of Carl, who's now a grown man with a family of his own, telling his daughter stories about her grandfather, the man who made all of this peace possible.
It was never about the zombies. It was about whether we choose to build something together or just survive on our own. It was about the crushing weight of being a leader, about innocence being lost, and about the idea that civilization isn't just something that happens. It's a conscious, difficult choice that you have to make every single day. So the series ends with this feeling of earned peace. But it leaves us with this final question. This new world is a testament to everything Rick dreamed of, but it was built on a foundation of compromise and bloodshed and unimaginable loss. Was it worth it? I guess that's for us to decide.